Welcome, everyone, to the Whisper to Roar show. This is Kym Glass, your host. I'm so excited that you have chosen to be here with us today. We have a great show today. I have an incredible special guest. But what I want to share with you today is that our goal here on the Whisper to Roar show is helping you to take your business and your voice from a whisper to a roar. And how do we do that? We help others network not only strategically, but effectively. And we look to provide tools, resources, and support. So while you're out there business developing for your business, or maybe you're doing it for another business, we want to help give you nuggets of information that will inspire you on your networking journey. And so today, I am so excited to feature our special guest, and she's going to be providing some incredible insights to you as well. Let me just read a little bit about the fabulous Lynda Sunshine West. So she's known as the Fear Buster. She's a speaker, a 6-time best-selling author. She is a mastermind facilitator, executive film producer, red carpet interviewer, and the founder of Women Action Takers. At the age of 51, she faced one fear every single day for an entire year. And in doing so, she gained an exorbitant amount of confidence and uses that confidence today to make a positive impact on the planet. Her mission is to help 5 million women entrepreneurs share their voice with the world with her mastermind, collaboration projects, podcasts, and events. She believes in cooperation and collaboration and loves connecting with like-minded people. So do you understand why she is my special guest and why I'm so honored to have her share today on the Whisper to Roar podcast? So welcome, Lynda. I am so excited to have you here today and join us. And wow, what a journey we have been on. You know, I'm thinking about maybe 5 years or so ago that we met in Las Vegas, and here we are today doing things a little bit different, finding our voice and really helping others in all the things that we're passionate about. So thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you. I appreciate keeping connected. That's a powerful thing about networking is we have to be the glue to hold those connections together. And so I just want to welcome you into the show and have you provide just some background details about, where were you when we first met, and maybe how that's a little bit different in what you're doing today.
Oh, yeah. Well, first, Kym, thank you so much for having this show, because, if we can reach one person, per episode or one person today that helps them to move out of that place from that whispering behind the scenes, too scared to share their voice, to that person who's out there sharing their voice and making that impact on the planet, I'm so honored to be part of that. So thank you so much for having me with that. And, gosh, when we met in Las Vegas, it was, I think 4 years ago or so. I was at a completely different place in my life, in my business, what I'm all about, my story and everything. To have me here on this podcast today is a big deal, because the first 51 years of my life, I wouldn't share my voice out there because I was too scared. I had a tremendous, tremendous fear of judgment. What are people going to think about me? What if I stumble my words? What if I say something stupid? What if they catch on to me and see that I'm not as smart as I'm pretending I'm, all these different things kept on showing up in my head until finally I started sharing my voice. And for me, it was about 6.5 years ago that I discovered that I actually have value. And I was 51 years old at that time. So I'll just share that really quickly. I was sitting in a conference room attending a networking event where we were learning how to do marketing. And something came up where the instructor asked a question. And for the first time in my entire life, I raised my hand. And I said, I want to answer, and I was so scared. My voice was trembling. My knees were knocking, my stomach was shaking. I felt sick to my stomach, but I needed to do this. I needed to finally say something out loud. And I did. And when I said it, I sat down. I don't know what I said, but what I do remember 100% is that what happened next. The two women sitting next to me said, "That was brilliant. Will you repeat it? I want to write it down." I repeated it, and then I stared into a chandelier that was above my head. And I said to myself, as loud as I could, I yelled in my own head. You know how sometimes you're whispering in your head and sometimes you're yelling in your head? And I said, "I have value. From this moment forward, I will share my voice every opportunity I get." And that was the start of my journey of actually stepping into who I am today. It's been a 6.5-year journey from where I am today. But when I met you, Kym, I was still at the beginning of that journey. I was only about 2.5 years into it. I still was figuring things out. I was still figuring out myself, figuring out my value and how do I apply it. Now I know my value, I have value, but how do I apply that to the world? How do I make that difference? How do I make that impact? How do I show up? How am I going to get clients? How am I going to help them? All these questions came now that I knew the answer to one thing. Everything else started opening up. Like I had all these new things that were showing up for me on a regular basis. So when I met you, it was right after the year I had faced a fear every single day for a whole year, 2015. So I had embarked on this journey and discovering who I am. And now I'm at this place when I met you that I'm sharing my voice with the world. I don't really know what I'm saying, but I'm sharing it because I had to go through those steps in order to be able to get to the point that now I know what I'm saying. I know my value. I know who I serve. I had to go through all of that to get to where I am today.
So
It's been amazing.
powerful. Again, the process and you sharing your fears for so long and facing those fears and falling flat, but always getting up. I think sometimes we're so afraid that we're going to fail. And oftentimes, if we can just get started, it doesn't matter if we it doesn't matter if we fall flat on our face, but it's that getting back up. And so when I think about us meeting and staying in contact with you too, like even though you weren't real comfortable, so to speak, or you didn't feel like you had value, just us staying connected has allowed me to watch your journey and vice versa of where we were when we met and how we're helping other people today. So your story is just so amazing and so powerful. And I know that you're on a mission to help other people do those same things. And so I appreciate you so much for sharing. What I also
Thank you.
very interesting is even though networking may not have been come to you real easy or you were still in the learning process, can you share with us a little bit about the community that you've built, like what you were saying 4 years ago, from not really understanding that you had value to what today, the value that you're providing for other people? Can you share with us a little bit about your community, what your purpose is, and how you're helping other people?
Definitely. And it's funny because when you mentioned networking, I immediately go back in my head to that very first networking event I attended. I had been in corporate for 36 years and I had had 49 jobs. And I made this decision to quit my job and go out there and become a millionaire in a year, because that's what I heard. You can become a millionaire in a year when you become an entrepreneur. Didn't happen that way. But I remember that very first networking event and I walked into the room and I was just trembling. I was going to be meeting all these new people. Again, I had that fear of judgment and the fear of judgment kept showing up. So I showed up to the event and I found a seat that was as far back as possible in the back of the room. And I went and sat in that seat and I literally got on my phone. I didn't look at anybody in the eyes. I was so scared to talk to anybody, just a tremendous fear. But I did it because I had heard that you had to do these networking events. So I attended, and by the end of that day, actually, there was one woman I met at the event, that scared the crap out of me even more. Because I said, oh my gosh, we have so much synergy with each other. We should get together and we should see how we can work together. And she looked at me and she goes, why? Just like that. And I'm like, oh my God, I finally had the courage to say something to somebody, and I was shot down, like cold shot down. Why? And I was like, okay, maybe this isn't the right person for me. But I ended up still having a conversation with her. We ended up collaborating with each other a couple years later because I challenged myself. And here's the thing that I think is important is that we challenge ourselves. When I met you, Kym, I was very intimidated. You know, you're a TEDx speaker, like that right there intimidated me. I didn't need anything else. I didn't need to know anything else about you. Just the fact that you're a TEDx speaker intimidated me. But I said to myself, you know what, this is probably somebody I can learn from. So let me stay connected with them, and hopefully I can provide value to them as well. And so really it's about, you know, for myself, it's about breaking through any of those fears, those judgments that I'm having about myself. Because oftentimes the judgments that we have of others, or that we believe others have about us, start with us, that we're the ones that actually have the judgment about others and about ourselves. So I just looked at that and I said, you know what, this is a woman. She's so amazing. I love her personality. I love everything about her. So I'm not going to let my fear of who she is and what she's all about scare me. And just, you know, staying in contact with you about that. So with all that, you know, I started growing this community called Women Action Takers. It was 3 years ago, July 2021 was 3 years ago. And when I started the community, I just wanted to be surrounded by women who were taking action, because I had spent most of my life being around people who were what I call excuse makers. And I wanted to be around action takers, not excuse makers. So I thought, you know what, if I create women action takers, maybe other women that are action takers who will join. You know, that was my mindset. And so I created it. It's a small community. We're on Facebook and also on Clubhouse, which, by the way, Clubhouse is by far the fastest networking potential that you have out there, and I will stake my life on it. It's been absolutely incredible. And I'll share just really quickly. I started Women Action Takers Facebook club or group. I have 1,200 members, and that's been 3 years, 1,200 members. It's been a slow organic growth. I'm on Clubhouse, have had the group for 5 months, and already have surpassed. I have 1,600 members in a matter of 5-month period of time. So anyway, created this environment that I wanted to be surrounded by. And guess what? I started to attract women who are action takers, which is what I wanted. And that's what happened. So I set my intention, I knew what I wanted, and I went out there and it started to unfold and made it happen.
That's so awesome, Lynda. And what I love about it too is, you know, when I first started networking, you know, we didn't have all the social media, right? So it was live events that I went to. I actually started networking years and years ago in my own neighborhood, riding my mini bike around. And then when I got into the corporate office, I started being the go-to person going to the Chamber of Commerce events. And I learned from that experience, you know, you can connect at a higher percentage because you're seeing people face to face, making that connection, finding out information, and then doing all the follow-up. What I find interesting too about what you've done, or what I see kind of behind the scenes, is you've done monthly events with the exception of the pandemic, but you've also had this online presence and a lot of engagement in that group. And so can you share with us a little bit about, like, from your perspective, what do you see that may be a little bit different in the live face-to-face events, and how is that differing on the social platforms? What do you see for that?
Well, it's an interesting question because yes, I've done the Women Action Takers events. They were all in person until the pandemic. And when the pandemic hit, of course, I had to either stop them or move them online, which I moved them online. You know, a lot of my friends were doing that because I'm in this space of people who put on events and stuff. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do mine online as well. And what was interesting, the most interesting about it is that it was 3 weeks from the pandemic until I did that first online event. And I didn't know it at the time, that first 3 weeks, that I was in a state of depression. Here we were in lockdown. I'm a people person. I love to be around other people. And, I love that one-on-one contact and being able to hug people. I'm a hugger, right? And so I didn't know it, but I had moved into a state of depression. And how did I discover that I was in depression? Is that when we went online and I opened up the Zoom room and the first, 2, 3 people started showing up, my energy kicked in big time. I had been lacking energy. I felt really slow. I felt like a slug almost, and it was that energy that I got, the energy pickup from being around these women, even though we were on Zoom. It still picked up my energy, and I still get that today. I don't have Zoom fatigue. And so my response, the reason I shared that is because my response to that is, for me at least, and everybody's different, we're all different. But human beings, every single thing on this planet is energy. And when I am surrounded by positive energy, whether it's on Clubhouse, which is audio, whether it's on a Zoom, which is, we get to see each other and speak to each other, or it's in person, those are all energetic fields. And I tap into that. So for me, just the fact that I'm doing the events is what matters, because by doing the events, I get to be around these amazing, positive, uplifting people. And that's who I want to be surrounded by. So for in-person events are great, but you got to get dressed, you got to traffic, you got to do your hair, you got all these different things that you got to do, to fit in or whatever. And they're time consuming. And so this one thing I love about the online platforms is that we don't need to do all of that stuff just to get to an event. I remember one event, I'll share just this one networking event that I signed up for. And I think it was $5 or something. And I got to the event and I sat in my car and I thought, I got 20 minutes early. I'll just check my Facebook when I'm, waiting to go in. And then next thing you know, the event was over and I didn't even attend. But I put that block up in front of me because I was too scared to attend. That's why I didn't attend. That's the reality. But my point there is that, I got all ready, I got there, I drove there, and I didn't even go. With Zoom, we don't have that as an issue. We either pop in or we don't. And I can pop in while I'm driving in my car. So.
I so hear you, and I so relate to that, because I will tell you, during the pandemic, I am used to being out and about with people. I've been traveling on my national book tour, attending other people's networking events, because I've always thought, if I show up, right? What's the statistic? 85% of your success is showing up. If I show up in who I am and I meet 2 to 3 people, or I gain one nugget of information to move my business forward, then for me, it's like that networking event was like, it's where you can drive a stake and say, I remember going to that event, maybe feeling like this, but on the other side of that event, this is what happened. I love the live events. And during the pandemic, I would actually drive to the grocery store, sit in my car just to watch people go in and out. So I'm one of those people person that sits at the mall or sits, even in the grocery store with a challenge that happened to all of us that nobody was looking. We didn't know that that was coming. And yet, last night I was at a live event in Houston, and it's so true, like exactly what you said. You can be in multiple places, making a difference, speaking on different time zones. I know one day last week, I spoke 5 times in one day. And there is no way I would have been able to physically do that, because I would have needed to be on 4 different airplanes to make that happen. So, I love that we have the flexibility and able to do that, yet while we also want to attend these live events. And so I have a question for you, going back to engagement. So I'm involved in Facebook groups. I have an entrepreneurial business out there. I have my own business out there. And I also connect with other groups that have similar, you mentioned like-minded people and attracting like-minded people. Well, there's hobbies that I like. There's specific businesses that I enjoy. And so I'm always, some people scroll through all this social media looking to see what everybody else is doing. I'm actually scrolling to look through opportunities. And I think that is one key thing that I will say for an entrepreneur, especially, and a business owner, is leveraging that time that you set to be out there and making it beneficial. And so I've been a part of a lot of groups. Like I said, I have my own groups. But when you think about engagement and you think about not only your group, but other groups that are out there, what do you think is the one key thing from your perspective that you see that keeps those people coming back or visiting that site or engaging in the post? What do you think that is?
Well, it's maybe the answer isn't what people want to hear, but the reality is everybody is in it for themselves. I mean, I'm just going to put it out there. And so what I've noticed as far as trends go and what people do engage with and what they don't engage with, for the most part, like the majority of people, is when you ask them to share something about themselves. That's what keeps them coming back. Oh, I love this group. It makes me feel good because I get to share who I am, what I'm all about. And maybe that people aren't consciously thinking that, but those are the majority of the posts that really get commented on, or when we're asking people's opinion. What do you think of this? Or, share your Instagram handle right now. It's so funny because I think those are it's all about the algorithm, because if you think about it, if you post your Instagram handle in somebody else's post, are you going through and looking at every single person's Instagram handle? And if not, this means that not everybody else is doing that either. And so for me, those are just like vanity metrics in order to get your group, get some algorithm stuff going on in your group so that people will notice it more maybe. But really, they're not serving any real purpose, except people get an opportunity to share something about themselves, not realizing that most people are not even looking at it. So to me, the real value is in not only giving them an opportunity to share, but then also inviting other people to see what that person is all about. So one thing I'd like to do, and I haven't done it in a couple of years, actually, I should do it again, is I like to do something where you post something and then you say whoever posts next has to comment on the last 2 or 3 people, at least direct them to go see what other people are doing. Otherwise, I'm posting and I'm wasting my time if I'm posting my Instagram handle in a group that has, 4,000 comments. Nobody's going to see my comment. You know what I mean?
So
So it's
true.
interesting. I just think it's all about, it's about vanity as far as no matter what somebody says, I will comment on it inside of my group, especially. And that way at least there's somebody that's commenting on their stuff. And because I'm the group leader, some people will look at that and say, oh, wow, Lynda commented on it. She takes time to comment on my stuff. And this is just about, building those relationships. And then we move them off of the platforms though, and get them into our own email campaigns, as well as, get them onto a call and see if you can actually really help them. That's what I think it's all about.
Yes, I so agree with you. When I'm producing events, networking events, I've said this for probably, I don't know, the last 20 years that I've been, event producing, is the thing about networking, and you said it so perfectly, and we see the exact same thing online, is that everyone has an invisible sign around their neck that says, "What's in it for me?" And so it goes back to whether you're socially networking out on these other platforms or you're live in person, those things still apply, Wouldn't you say that
Yeah,
the
definitely. And that's,
similarity is
yeah,
definitely still there?
it's human nature. Like if you think about, I shared this story of, that first networking event, and I walked up to that lady in my mind, because when she introduced herself, I was like, oh my gosh, she's a perfect fit for what I'm doing. Maybe we can do something together, right? I heard that. But when I shared, did my 30-second commercial, she didn't hear that back. So what happened is I approached her and I said, I think we can do something together, because I was thinking about what's in it for me, but how I can utilize her to work with me. So it wasn't, like, you think about it, it wasn't about her at all. It was about me initially. So the initial thing is, what's in it for me? I like to say WIFT, WIIFT, what's in it for them? So whenever I
Yeah.
reach out to any, social media influencers or any influencers, I reach out with an intention of, what can I give them? What can I give? People often will say things like, oh, I'm going to, be on Gary Vee's show, or I'm going to be on this or be on that. And not realizing that, there's something that Gary Vee wants too. What's in it for him? What's in it for him? So we got to reach out to them, knowing what it is in it for them. What can we provide value that they actually really want? Oh, I'll get you on my show and I got 20 viewers. He's like, he's got millions of viewers. He doesn't need your 20 viewers. You know what I mean?
Right, right. So let me ask you this question. When I speak about Whisper to Roar, and that's how I help people effectively networking. And I know we don't have time to go into it, but we both have a backstory about fear, different but relevant. And I often see how people are stuck in their business because they are so fearful about networking. And I spoke to millennials at universities. I spoke to people that are in the second part of their life that have done the corporate work and they're launching their own business. And those same fears show up exactly the same. So, from your perspective, did you have a fear in networking other than, when like when we first met and you already talked about, or what do you see as maybe a fear, or maybe they think of it as a holdback in your own community that you help people with?
Well, they've done studies, and and Think and Grow Rich actually is a great book by Napoleon Hill. He talks about fear, and it's really interesting because the number one fear that most people have is the fear of judgment. And I was no different. It was my biggest fear. There's a saying that more people are scared of speaking on stage than they are of dying. That's not true. The reality is more people are scared of the judgment they'll receive on stage. They're not scared to speak on stage. They're scared of the judgment. So let's get that truth right there, And so that fear of judgment, when we can break through that one fear, even if it's just a temporary break, before we approach a room, or what I like to do now is I will set an intention. So anytime I go to any networking event, I set an intention. And for me, the reason this works is because I'm a very task-oriented person. So if I have a task at hand in my job that day for myself is to connect with two amazing human beings and get one golden nugget, like you mentioned earlier, then that's my goal. That I go out there and I'm going to achieve a goal, rather than looking at the fear that I have of actually approaching the people or having a conversation with people. So really that fear of judgment, when we can get through that and break through that fear right there and stop being afraid of what people think about us. What's the saying? Don't worry about what people think. What people think of me is none of my business. I can't remember who said that. Was it Maya Angelou or somebody? But I'm not good at remembering names, quotes. But, if we can get rid of that fear and just move into the situation and show up as ourselves, be ourselves, and just realize that people will like you for you and people won't like you for you. And that's okay either way. I think that's what's going to help you to move past a lot of barriers that are out there.
So true and powerful. And I think it's also a reminder that you touched a little bit back on is what I found is if you're feeling fearful or you're holding back, I know for myself and my clients that I've coached, if I can get them into action, it seems like when you're in action, you get out of either being stuck or being fear because your focus shifts. And I know as you having a women action taker community, do you find that to be the case as well? Like if you can just get started, regardless how slow it is, do you feel like that action, taking action and doing something different, do you see where that kind of puts fear a little bit more on the back burner?
Yeah, and you may still have the fear. Like I like to say, I'm scared. I'm going to do it because I'm scared. That's why I'm doing it. Not in spite of the fear or anything, but it's because I'm scared. I got to do this because our comfort zone is on the other side, is inside the fear.
Mhm.
So the fear that we have is because we're scared of moving into like out of that comfort zone. I like to call it enlarging the size of the comfort zone instead of, stepping out of it or what have you. But, enlarging that size of the comfort zone is uncomfortable. It's scary, but guess what? It's not going to enlarge if you stay inside that comfort zone. So for me, it's like, I'm scared. That's what's stopping me right now. I'm going to do it because I'm scared. It really has just changed my whole mindset to move into things and to blast past those fears. But yes, fear is debilitating. It will stop us from living our lives. I allowed fear to control me for 51 years, but no more. No more fear. I have kicked you to the curb.
Exactly. And it's so true what you say. I mean, I I think we're kind of a testament to, just the short time that we've known each other. Like there have been fears and maybe like uncertainty or challenges, to keep going, to keep going and finding what is our purpose, what is our mission, who are we serving, how are we networking, and then equally as so, I've been involved in organizations that help promote women or small business, and also see a lot of discrepancy on even how they're funded. And a lot of that, from what I've learned, is because women won't step up on the financial side in their business. And so you mentioned something a little bit earlier about Clubhouse and how you can generate income. And I want you to share a little bit more about that. And the premise of that is okay, so you've got your networking down, you know how to network, you know where to network, but do you know how to ask for the sale? Because at the end of the day, we're not just collecting people to collect people. We're collecting these relationships and we're building upon those relationships in the hopes that at some point in time, they think of us that we're either top of mind awareness because we've been effectively networking, but equally so, they now have a need for our product and service. And so, again, I work with a lot of women that, okay, this is what I do, this is how I help other people, but they can't get to the close of the sale because of fear or a holdback. And oftentimes they don't know what to say, right? So I'm going to ask you to share a little bit about how are you generating, like tell us exactly, like give us some tips and tricks on this platform Clubhouse and what you see working there.
Awesome. I love this question on so many levels because Clubhouse has literally changed the whole way my business operates and the amount of money that I make in my business. And why is that? Well, first of all, a Clubhouse is an audio only platform. It's not video, and it's a way for you to communicate with people, to have conversations as you can use it however you want. So there's a couple ways to think about it. One is that, think about Clubhouse as a radio station. You have your own radio station and you're interviewing people on your radio station, or you're inviting them to come up and call in. Hey, callers, call in. But instead on Clubhouse, you're inviting them to come up onto the stage to be able to share. So what you've done right there is, as far as community goes, you have already made an impression on them in one way, shape, or form. Just by being the leader of the room, it already moves you into a space of authority. So that's the first thing. You don't have to host a whole event, put it together and organize this whole event. You just hop into Clubhouse. So you got to save a lot of time, which is, time is precious, time is money. So that's the first thing there, is when you're hosting your own room. Now, let's say you're not hosting your own and you decide, I just want to go in there and check out Clubhouse and see what it's all about. Well, when you hop into a room, here's the thing that I love. I can't say this is the thing I love the most because there's too many things I love the most about it. But one thing I love about Clubhouse is as you're scrolling through what we call the Clubhouse streets or the hallway, you'll see a whole bunch of different topics. Now, most of these topics are based on what you put in your bio to say, these are the things I'm interested in, and these are the things I'm doing based on your bio and the interest that you select in Clubhouse. And so these different rooms are going to hop up. And what's cool about this is that you will look through and you'll say, oh, I love this title of this room. Let me go in there and see what it's all about. Well, guess what? All the other people in the room did the same thing. They said, oh, this is an interesting title. This sounds like something that resonates with me. Let me go in there and see what it's all about. So first, as far as networking, think about going to a networking event. You're in there with people who are, in MLM, you're with people who have their own business, you're in people who work for somebody. It runs the gamut. You're in there with real estate people, you're in there with, skincare people, you're in there with coaches. You have the gamut. You don't know who's showing up. In Clubhouse, at least if you have those same people, they're in there for the same exact topic. So you've immediately, just write that one thing right there, you have immediately narrowed down the circle of people that you're going to be around because you all are interested in the same topic. Now you don't have to go say, hey, are you interested in this topic? You know they are because they're in the same room. That's the first thing. I love that aspect of it. Every room I hop into is people I resonate with. So then, do you want to say something, Kym, on that? Okay, so next, after that, now you're in this room and you're listening to everybody and you're sitting in what we call the audience. You're in there, you're listening. Now you have an opportunity to raise your hand and say, hey, I'd like to come up onto the stage, or stay in the audience and listen. Now, when you're listening, you don't have an opportunity to share or to talk, but you can hear what everybody else is saying. And if they resonate with you, guess what? You reach out to them on Instagram. It's through, Instagram and Twitter are the two platforms it's currently using. You reach out to them on Instagram, and you say, I just heard you speaking in the such and such room about such and such, and it really resonates with me. Would you like to hop on a call? Or, you just hold a conversation in Instagram, in the messenger right there. Now, if you get on stage, this is where the real beauty lies, because now you have an opportunity to share your voice. Kym and I are all about sharing your voice, whisper to roar, taking that voice out there, take it on the road, And so Clubhouse gives you that opportunity. Now I'm on stage and I have an opportunity to share my story, to share what I do. This is not an opportunity for you to go in and sell your stuff. Just like anything, this is not what you do up there. You go and you make connections with people based on your story about who you are and about who they are and their story. Do we want to do something together? Does this person resonate with me? And then you create a relationship off of the platform. Now, I've been on the platform as of today that we're doing this recording. I've been on the platform for 6 months. And in that 6 months time, I have about 3,400 followers. Now, I'm going to share with you a second. I'm not about the vanity metrics at all. I'm just sharing with you the difference in Clubhouse as opposed to some of the other platforms out there. In Clubhouse, I have 3,400 followers in a 6-month period of time. In Facebook, I have 3,500 followers, almost the same exact number in a matter of 13 years. 13 years.
Wow.
In Facebook, I have a group, Women Action Takers, that has 1,200 members. In Clubhouse, I have 1,600 in my group. It's because I'm getting on stages, I'm sharing my voice. Kym mentioned about 5 speaking engagements in one day. On Clubhouse, you could literally have 12, 20 speaking engagements in one day, because when you're done, you can move to the next room. But here's the thing. It's all about that, the networking happens there, which is, it's fast and furious. The reason is because people get to see who you are, what you're all about, what your knowledge is, just by being in a room. But then the beauty is in the follow-up. It's just like anything with business. We got to follow up. You got to get them off of the social media platforms and into a call, off of the social media platforms and into your products and services. You got to get them off of that social media and into something else. You got to get leads and move them along to the next phase. So I'm on fire about this because I absolutely love Clubhouse. It has changed my business. I made more money in 30 days on Clubhouse than I did in probably in about 6 months on my business prior to Clubhouse.
Wow, that's amazing. And don't we always want to know, oh my gosh, how did she do that? You know, like you hear about Clubhouse and you join, and then this is the result of the consistency. And when we think about networking and we think about the follow-up, right? We always hear the fortune is in the follow-up, and we always hear the statistic that 48% of people don't buy on the first time they meet you. It is truly all about the follow-up. So I love what you shared. Obviously, the metrics are working. The ability to speak is crazy great, because if you're a speaker, an author, or you're at the level where you're sharing your people as an expert, as a speaker, what a great opportunity to do that. And so just in closing with you today, I want to be real specific, because I love meeting people, staying connected with them, finding out what they're doing. We mentioned it earlier in the show today. We're not doing the exact same thing that we did when we met, 4+ years ago. We've evolved, thankfully, right? Because we're all about progressing and growth. And so that is the natural progression of growth. We don't want to just get somewhere and stay there. Like I'm all about continuous improvement. And I know that you're like-minded in that as well. But I'm wanting you to share with us, so we know who you are, we know what you do, but what are you specifically looking for in your business today? Or how are you helping other people? Do you have a book? Do you have a program? Share with us a little bit about that.
Awesome. Thanks for asking, Kym. First of all, I want to thank you for hosting this again, because like I said, if we can change one person's life and help them to start to share their voice with the world, it's only going to get better the more you put yourself out there. So the whisper to roar isn't like whisper one day and the next day you're roaring. It is a journey that's going to get you there. And that's, Kym and I have been on that journey, and I'm going to continue on that journey, just like you said, because I love learning and growing. And, so what I'm working on now is I'm moving into a new space, because of this growth that I've had. I only know what I've learned up until this moment in my life. And, it's been an awesome journey. So what I'm doing is I'm moving into the space of coaching. I'm going to be coaching women to help them to share their story in books. I write collaboration books, and Kym's actually part of, a couple of my collaboration books. So I help women to share their story in those collaboration books, as well as different opportunities for them to share their voice on the stage, whether it's, on stage, on video, or what have you. And I'm super excited about this, Kym, because it's been moving to that direction. And you said the natural progression. When I was in my first collaboration book, it was scary, but I did it. And then after that book, my mentor said, you need to write your own book. So I did it. I was scared, but I did it because I was scared. And then after that, I asked myself the question. I was in a collaboration book. I wrote my own book. What's my next natural progression? I actually asked myself that question. And the answer was, write your own collaboration book. How can I grow if I just keep staying doing the same thing I've been doing for years? So I'm always looking at ways to grow my own personal life, as well as my business life. And it's been an incredible journey, and it ain't over yet. It ain't over yet. But with that, one of the things I do is I love training people. I've been a trainer since I was 16 years old. So it's been many, many decades. And I am training people how to use Clubhouse and how to make money using Clubhouse. So I do have a Clubhouse Money Maker Challenge. And I'm excited because I did the first one a couple months ago and it went really well. I decided I'm going to do it again. So anybody who's interested, just reach out to Kym. She has a link to it. And I'd love to see you in the challenge. I want to help you to make 5K in 30 days using Clubhouse.
Exciting. Who doesn't want to make 5,000? What is that? $5,000 in how many days?
30 days. I'm going to teach you
30
how to do it
days.
in 30 days. Yeah.
Would that make a difference in your business?
In
Would it
mine,
would it
yeah.
start you your business? Would it make a difference in your business? Like, who do you know that could use $5,000 in the next 30 days? I love that. And I'm excited to peek in on everything that you're doing because I mean that's what we're all about. Lynda mentioned I had been in a couple of collaboration books, and then when we met, and as she progressed, she started doing some collaboration books, as I also do, which is really interesting. And but I love being connected with that. And so you're going to actually be hearing more of those connections that Lynda and I have made along the way, because we're going to be featuring them right here on the Whisper to Roar show. And then just in closing, Lynda, can you share with us what is your website and how can our listeners find you?
You can find me at womenactiontakers.com. That's my website. And then on social media, I'm Lynda with a Y. So Lynda Sunshine West. And I'm Lynda Sunshine West everywhere on social media. They can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, Women Action Takers. That'd be awesome.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, I so appreciate this conversation today. I know we got to go, right? Because we have more speaking to do and collaboration books. And those of you that are interested, feel free to reach out to either myself or Lynda on this incredible Clubhouse offer that she has going on. And we look so forward to staying in contact with you, and just so appreciate you being on our show today and sharing with our audience how to take your business and voice from whisper to roar. Thank you so much.